All right. So let me talk about some buddy shows, right? A couple of buddy shows, right?
Sure.
So we'll start off with the guys first, and then we'll continue on with the ladies, right? So first show is A Real Pain. So yeah, what this movie is about essentially is we center on these cousins, right? We have David, who is played by Jesse Eisenberg, who not only stars in this film, he also wrote and directed this. I'll talk about that in a bit, right? And his cousin Benji, who's played by Kieran Culkin, right? They are of Jewish heritage, right? And after the death of Benji's grandmother, right? Well, let's just say their grandmother actually passed away, right? But in the process of going to that old home, they also take part in what is essentially a Holocaust tour, right? So there's this British guide who meets them at the airport in Poland, and there's a few other Jewish people there as well, right? Well, Jewish Americans, basically, right? There's this one guy, I thought this was really interesting. He is Rwandan, right? And he actually, well, slight spoiler, he survived the genocide, right? But
Okay.
through some
Right.
circumstances, he converted to Judaism. I thought that was really interesting, right? So there's
Right.
one black guy in this group, right? And yeah, we just essentially if follow David and Benji as they go about this tour, right? It's not a long tour; it just like takes like about a few days. But then afterwards, they will sort of just leave the group and then they'll go see the home, the grandmother's home, and then come back home, right? Essentially, what this show is about, right, is kind of just seeing how these two characters view life, right? In general, right? Benji is just this free spirit, right? He is very charismatic. He's the life of the party, right? He brings that sort of vibe to wherever he's at, right? But he's deeply like he's lonely, dread. He's like deeply flawed inside, right? You learn something about him, and you kind of like throughout the show, you kind of understand what will lead him to reach to that point in his life, right? But yeah, he's lonely compared to David. Well, David is married and he has a kid, right? But what this show brilliantly explores, right, is the balance between joy and pain, right? So David now he's appreciative of the fact that yeah, I have a family and whatnot, right? But he, as in David, doesn't understand why Benji is just so dismissive when it comes to certain things of his life, right? Like, yes,
Right.
he's joyful and he's always like free spirited and all that kind of stuff, right? But why doesn't he take responsibility for his life, right? I love how they frame it in terms of understanding what their people had to go through with the Holocaust, right? You would think that would make you a lot more appreciative of your life. You would think like your life means nothing, right? And yet, for some reason, Benji is just like that, right? And you understand why throughout the course of the film, you just see that back and forth between the two of them, right? That's a touch on Kieran Culkin for a bit, right? So I cannot say that I have been like I haven't followed up all of his work, right? Like I
Yeah,
this
I mean,
show,
he was popular from Succession, so
yeah, from
it's
Succession, which is a show
right.
that I still have not watched. I know, shame on me, right? I know the show done, so I could take my time and watch it now that it's done.
Right.
But yes, I was not on the Succession train neither, right?
Yeah.
So I guess shows that start with S, like Severance and Succession, like a Big Wood, for example, like I just didn't jump on the train, right? But
Yeah,
yeah, I know he was on that.
I was not a big fan of Succession myself. Like it was, I get it, but I don't know, it just never appealed to me. But I watch it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. But it live up to the hype, right? Like
No, no,
all the
yeah,
hype
you'll
was
like it.
around it.
You'll like it, but it's just not for me. I don't know. Because it's
Okay,
too, I don't know, not for me. But yeah,
all right,
you'll like
yeah.
it. I'm sure you'll like it.
Yeah. So for me, not knowing a lot about Kieran Culkin's filmography, by this is like the best performance I have seen from him. Like just bar none, right? He just commands the screen every time he's up, right? Every time he's there, right? Um, he's likable, right? Again, life of the party. He's that type of character, right? He always have the quips. He just his humor, right? It's just so sharp, right? But you could tell that he is masking all this pain and all this hurt, right? And it's just throughout the show, it's just like layers, just like a layer would just be just revealed about him, and you just kind of understand, even though you don't get a full perspective, but you get enough to understand why he is the way he is, right? At the very end, right? But yeah, he is that guy, Dread, right? So full of life, but when you learn something about it, it's like, oh, so you just basically capitalizing on this second chance of life that you have. That's all I will say without spoiling anything. But I love how the show frames his character with this tour, right? Yeah, because yeah, what these people are going on, right? just seeing these things and hearing these stories. Yeah, that will do a lot to your psyche. That will do a lot to your psyche. Just learning that all these atrocities took place just off the show is like, yeah, but I don't know if I want to take part in those kind of things, right? I love how Benji's character is paired alongside David, right, who is played brilliantly by Jesse Eisenberg, right? Yes, Jesse is the same quirky Jesse that we know and love from since Zombieland onwards, right? With the exception of BVS, but whatever, right? Yeah, he is that guy, right? But I like how down to earth he is compared to Benji, right? There's a great moment where David talks about, yeah, like I wish that, I was popular and I was the life of the party and I was funny, but I just normal. Nothing much going on with me, and yes, they have great chemistry together, though. Just the banter that they have, the dialogue they have is just great, right? And we just basically seeing them on this tour, right? If they're not outside going on the tour, they in hotel rooms, they just enjoying the time, right? In Poland, right? And just to touch on Jesse again, right? This man, like I don't know his directorial work or his screenwriting work, right? But this guy have a future when it comes to both of them, Dread. Because I thought,
Right,
yeah,
wait, he
he
directed
crushed it with
this?
both. Yeah, he directed it. He wrote it,
Okay.
Dread. This man
Okay, okay.
have a future. Like
Great.
this man
Nice.
killed it, Dread. Right? Um, and it's just simple, like just simple, straightforward direction, right? And not he's no Spielberg as yet, right? And what I love with his direction, right, is like it's taking something like just the darkness of it all, right? Just again, like the balance between joy and suffering, right? But when you're in Poland, when you're seeing these moments of Poland, right? These shots, right? These exterior shots, right? They just look so exquisite, right? To the point that yeah, I actually would love to go to Poland one day. I would love to go there and see, that place for myself, right? But just knowing that all this dark stuff took place in its history, right? You know, it kind of makes you think twice before you go there, right? But I love how he just sort of frames it as, what, it's just a beautiful country despite its dark history, right? That's what it is, right? Yeah, there's a lot of great, exquisite shots and whatnot, right? Also, there's a lot of great music in there. Well, in particular, I should have looked this up after I saw the film, right? Because I saw this yesterday. Um, it's Chopin, right? That's how you pronounce his name, the
Okay.
composer.
Okay, yeah.
Right, him. Yeah, there's a lot of his music used
Okay.
throughout this, right? Yeah. And I thought it worked. Like it had a nice vibe to it as well, too, right? It's beautiful, but it's also melancholy at the same time. That's why it's there. That or at least that's what I pick up from it, right? And because I'm just that guy. I even pick up on like a nice little, film reference in a certain section of the film. Yeah, Jesse referenced a certain film. I don't know if you ever saw it called Night and Fog. It's
Is
a
that
classic
the
documentary. Like it's like a
train?
no, it's about a half hour long. It's from Aline Resnay, right? French director, right? But it's about this concentration camp in Germany. But how it's
All
done
right, yeah,
is
yeah.
just
I
like
know. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, okay.
these photographs and like
Yeah,
occasional, shots, right? Like actual film, right? Recording, right?
right.
But yeah, but for me, what I really love about this film, right? Because yes, essentially this is a comedy drama, right? But what I love though is that yes, there's genuine moments of humor. You'll be cracking up at certain points, right? Especially
Right.
just off the sharp dialogue in this, so just some great dialogue in this, right? But again, it's the balance between joy and sadness, right? Because yes, we want to live happy lives, right? We want to live happy, peaceful, memorable lives, right? But what the show does so well is that it shows that yeah, you also kind of need to have pain. You need to have the bad. You need to have suffering in life, right? So not just your life, but just the people around you as well, right? Because for better or for worse, it makes you more appreciative of the life that you do have, and that's what Benji learns or is forced to learn throughout this film, right? Or I should say both him and David are forced to learn throughout this film, right? Because it's easy for us to kind of just numb our brains, just tell us, look, no, ignore the bad, just focus on the good. Focus on the good. It's about mental health. Focus on the good, right? But then you kind of have to be aware of the bad, right? Whether it happened to you or your family or
Right.
a whole group of people, right? Your ancestors went through all this hell, right?
Right.
And that's why I love, David keep calling Benji, like, look at what they went through and why you always so shitty? Why you always thinking your life is shitty for? Like, dog, you're supposed to be happy. Like, you always give the impression that you're happy. So why you you know, why you so shitty inside there? You know, and it's just these great conversations that they have, right? That really is the heart of this movie, and I absolutely love the show for really exploring those themes here.
Yeah, no, yeah, it have a concept called toxic positivity, yeah, where you
Uh,
can just smile your way through a problem or anything like that. It's like, no, you should be aware of the past and how serious, how things could be worse and so on and so on. You have to accept that, but at the same time, don't be too ridiculous on the conceit as it is. It's go both ways. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I understand, right? So for me, like to decent 4.5 out of 5, man. I'm going high with this one. A real pain is a is a big deal. It's a real deal. Yeah, definitely check this out, man. This was brilliant. This was brilliant. Right, so from the guys now, let me talk about the ladies for a bit, right? So let's talk about one of them days, right? So
Sure.
Ricardo, if you don't mind, I want you to do the synopsis for this, right? So I will confess something, right? I did not watch a trailer for this. I
Okay.
saw a
Right.
poster, and because of a certain name on a poster, I was like, oh, okay, I want to see this, right? And it's not surprising. Yeah, the reason why I went to see a show is because of Scissor. Yep,
Right. Yeah.
I went to see because it,
I mean,
it, it is good,
when
right?
I
I
see
mean,
the names, right, is Scissor, but I see Kiki Palmer. I
yeah,
see, and
Kiki
then well,
Palmer as well too.
and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
the main draw was actually it's slipping my mind
Or
right now.
the director Lawrence Lamont.
No, Issa, right,
Yeah, yeah,
production.
Issa Rae, yeah, Issa Rae, yeah, producing this as well, right?
Right,
Yeah, I'll talk about her. I'll talk about her, right? But yeah,
yeah,
I just saw the poster, look cool and whatnot, but I had no clue what it was about. I just knew it was a comedy. It's Kiki Palmer, and it features, TDE's B right now. Yeah, SZA,
yeah,
right? So, I think this is like yeah, this is her debut film performance, right? So yeah, I went to see SZA. I ain't got a friend. I went to see she, right?
right,
But I had no clue as to what this movie was about, but I just knew that it was just going to be hilarious, right? That's all I really want from it, right? But Ricardo, take it away. What was one of them days about?
right. So what is Drew and Alyssa?
Yeah, Drew. Yeah,
uh,
Drew played by Kiki and Alyssa played
well,
by McGill.
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
they stay in an apartment, rundown, apartment, and then they short on rent, and so they have to pay by I think 6 o'clock, to sort out. And yeah, it's a sort of old noise they had to go through to go through that. Even though they thought they paid, but they didn't know what happened is there's something involving their boyfriend and involving the rent money, and shenanigans ensue. And yeah, that's it. It just goes from silly situation to silly situation. It's very comedic and funny, and it's a movie that I don't know, like about 5 or 6 years ago, that I absolutely hate. And if it wasn't for this, is where I think Issa Rae is very relevant. Uh, it as I make a joke here. I say it's basically what if Santara Golden from American Fiction made a movie? If you get that reference, you know. That's what it feels like. This was pretty good. It's very how to describe it. It's very derivative. Like we've seen it before, right? You know, other movies, other black movies do it, but I don't know. Issa Rae's skill set applies so much better to this in terms of like what to look for, and she just had the good eye for the talent, and it didn't feel like it's something that should have feel too coonery buffoonery, but it doesn't do that. Like it just balances the humor with good silly uh pop culture stuff and then good social commentary in the reference. And so yeah, it feels like Friday, and we see Friday before, but then they do it like in a more modern sense, like that movie. Okay, was the movie that we digs? Um,
Blind Spotting, one of my top
Blind
10
Spotting, right?
favorite movies of the past
Yeah,
decade. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's a little bit of that, but not too serious. But it is work with a good social comedy, and it have enough like silliness in it does make it work. And yeah, they just make a bunch of it's self aware, but not too offensive, and it balances itself so well. As I said, yeah, it's derivative and predictable plot wise. But it really works because of Kiki and Scissor's chemistry. Two of them like genuinely funny, good timing. It have great jokes. Where she named from Abbott Elementary, the principal. She in this, she funny in it too. Cat
Yeah.
Williams always funny. I felt he was underutilized, but they could have.
Yeah, I felt so
However,
too. Yeah.
yeah, but whatever, it's fine. And yeah, I don't know. I just thought this was excellent. It's just a lot of fun, surprisingly like jokey and hilarious, but just pretty good on its own right, and I dug a lot of this for what it was. And yeah, I mostly had fun with it. I was expecting it to be good. Uh, and it works as a female body comedy. I mean, we've seen a bunch of those, and unfortunately, they just kind of they feel like just female versions of a male counterpart kind of thing. It's kind of like what Superbad and this other movie was. Um, oh gosh, it's slipping my mind right now. But like yeah, it feels like Friday in many ways. But
Yeah,
they
it
do their own,
does. Yeah.
but they do their own thing, and they put their own stamp on it. And they have like all these little dumb jokes, and it's like the tumbleweave thing. That just
Oh yeah,
funny.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is
No, no,
funny,
that's
but it's
funny.
dumb.
Yeah, okay, this
Yeah,
it was so unexpected. That
yeah.
was
And then
unexpected.
I think it had a character from it had one character from Abbott Elementary, but I think it's another girl from Abbott Elementary was in this
All
as
right.
well.
Well, okay. So let's just stop you there for a sec, right? So I have not jumped on that train as yet, but don't worry,
Yep.
I will, right? She was in the last two seasons of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Right. Okay.
Last year, actually, like decided to just watch out the whole series because, yeah, it wrapped up last year, right?
Right.
For one thing, though, she just has this broad, expressive face about her, Jen, and she just so animated with the face, with the facial features and whatnot. And yeah, I thought that she was a great fit for that particular scene with our heroes. That
Right.
was cool.
I know they make it work for what it was. It's like it we see other things like it, but like it's not as bad as I think it's one of the better versions of this. Um, but it funny, it works. As I say, I think Judd Apatow's daughter is in this as well. Yeah, overall it's just a
Oh
nice
yes,
outing.
yes. I'm now seeing it
More,
here. But
yeah,
because I never watched Euphoria, yeah, I didn't know this
right, she
till
does,
like
right,
about a second ago. Yeah, she plays a white girl who moves into the same apartment
right.
where the heroes are. Yeah.
Right, and yeah, I had fun with it. But as I said, it does the self-referential thing. As I said, if you know who Sintara Golden is from American Fiction, it feels like a movie she would make. Look up that. That's
Okay.
where that's
I
where
see
this
you.
works.
I see you.
Right.
Hmm.
So that's why it kind of works, and I didn't have a problem with it. Once you do it in if you do this in a workable context and it doesn't come across as too like too for lack of a better word insulting, it works. You don't mean mind. It don't have to be the what's the name of this network boy is Zion or something like that.
Oh,
What kind of
yeah, I heard about that through Double Toasted, and yeah, their content sounds
pretty
like
bad.
cringe, but like really
It's not
cringe.
that right. It's not that. But okay, what's the name of the network? Zion. I want to say it's not Zion. It's something with Z. I think.
Yeah, some
Uh,
Z something. I can't
yeah.
remember, but I know you talk about. Yeah.
Right, but that stuff is not that. But it yeah, but it because it winking at the audience. It is kind of work, and is how how you have to play that in terms of like you owning the material kind of thing, right?
Mm.
You could make it work and not be like too insulted or too thing, and they make it work for the most part. I dug it for what it was. But yeah, it is held back by being I think a little too derivative and a little too predictable, and but only because Kiki and Scissor like bounces off each other really well. It just feel like something like that. With the rise of something like a Doichi. There's that sheer charm
Hmm.
brings it to the table, and I could see her in the sequel to this or something like that. But yeah, it's a very cliched conceit.
Yeah.
But excellent execution. Pretty good execution. Very yes, very standard and excellent execution. So that's about how I feel about it. Yeah, I will. You can just talk and I'll give my rating.
Right. Now speaking of Doichi, right? Um, I was actually happy to hear one of her songs, one of her big songs, pop up in this movie here. I heard that song. I heard a big Glorilla song as well. Like,
Right.
okay, they are those two. I felt that we just little minor nitpick, right? I felt we could have got more contemporary hip hop in this show, right? But just like Friday, they have this mix between like modern hip hop with like some classic 70s soul music, which is cool, right? Major flaw with this though, right? Because you mentioned Friday, right? And yes, Friday is the perfect show to compare this to, right?
Right.
I make the joke on Facebook, this is like if Friday and Insecure had a child, it'd be this
Right.
film, right? 'Cause it is Friday, right? Where it's this contained story, everything takes place in the day. You have these two, well, you want to call them slackers in a sense, like they're socially slackers. They had to deal with a problem. They have to acquire a certain amount of cash, or else something bad will happen to them, right? And it's hijinks ensue, right? But with that film, right, and you see it throughout the trilogy itself, right? Which are still the Fed, right? Because there's parts of next Friday and Friday after next that I do like, right? But when I mention what it is now, you'll understand where I'm coming from, right? Hopefully, right? Uh, it was not just about the two leads with these films. It wasn't just about Ice Cube and Chris Tucker or Ice Cube and Mike Epps. It was the side characters. It was how they communicate with the side characters that also bring up a lot of humor too, right? Whether it's John Witherspoon, whether it's Anna Maria Horsford, right? Whether it's Big Worm, from the first one, or oh gosh, what's his name? Baby Joker from the Next Friday, or OG, or I'm forgetting Terry Crews' character from Friday After Next, or Cat
Right.
Williams' character. Oh gosh, the pimp character. I forget his name right now, right? You always had these really over the top characters, right? They just see how they kind of, how they kind of connect with the story, right? You get a couple of characters like that. Like they have this one chick who like real want to kill, like literally want to kill Drew. Sorry, well, more Alyssa than Drew, right? Because like Alyssa, man at the time, yeah, like cheated on she with this kid with this chick basically. So you have that thing going on. But I felt what really held it back though is that there wasn't really anybody like side character wise that stood out to me. Like there wasn't like those characters that I mentioned earlier where there was something so distinct about them and so funny about them, right? That you remember them, right? Like still to this day, we still say bye Felicia, right? We still say bye Felicia.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Felicia was a memorable character, even though she wasn't there much in the show. But yeah, she was there and she left an impact, right? So I felt like the side characters around our two leads didn't really have that, right? That's what I felt with Cat Williams because I felt like when his character was introduced, I thought it was really funny. Like just where he was and what he was saying, that was clever, right? Um, but they didn't really do much of them. Unfortunately, this sort of pops up here or there as well, right? You have other characters who don't really try to be funny, but they're just there in the story because they need to be there. I felt we could have got more out of them. I really felt like just the one character who I felt was really like way down because of that same problem is that same girl who I see who with Alyssa's man, like I felt like they could have given her much to do, right? Even more so, I feel the person who really had it the worst though, unfortunately, right? Yeah, is the villain in this whole show, right? This gang leader, this gangster, pretty much, right?
Right.
Called King Lulu, and then because they hint at it right at the very beginning, right? There's this character say something about it, right? And that was all you really hear about him. But you never really thinking about it because the show don't stop to tell you about this guy, right? And then later on, he just brought back up out of the blue. You're like, wait, how this happened out of the blue? But yeah, I felt like he could have had more presence in this show, right? Because how they was trying to frame him in this movie, he is a Debo character in the
Right.
sense
Right.
that when he shows up, you run. There's a moment literally where King Lolo shows up and everybody runs, everybody scampers. I get what he was trying to do, right? But it was too late, man, And I felt like just the little while he was there, yeah, he was hilarious though. He was just this over the top gangster, right? But I felt if he was the villain, he should have been there in the film. You should have referenced him more. Now. So unfortunately, what I felt brought the show down was that it relies too much on the leads, right? It's yeah, like with Friday, yes, the leads were hilarious and they were likable and whatnot, right? But it's how they interact with the other characters and how over the top the other characters were. That's what made those Friday films work, right? Even though it's of varying degrees, right? Because I could still watch the sequels, but yes, Friday, the first one is the best, right? But the other two, I still defend them. I can understand why people would like that, right? That being said, Friday aside, though, right? That big issue with the show aside, I still had a lot of fun with this, right? Because yes, it's simple, it's straightforward. Yes, it is derivative. Yes, you know where it's gonna lead to, right? But it was just the journey itself was just a lot of fun, right? And that's just thanks to Kiki Palmer and Scissor, right? Just how likable, just the charisma they have, right? Just the
Right.
presence they have on screen, though. It just works, right? And yeah, I mean, I can't believe I say this, but yes, Scissor crush it
Yeah.
with she debut performance, right? And this other than the pick, I felt there were a few moments where Scissor's character does dumb shit for the sake of it. But I like that, just like well, not so much DD, but more like Smokey from the first Friday. Yes, Scissors called out for that. Like, yeah, you can't be doing fucked up shit like that, right? And also Drew. I like how Drew is just pretty much the street man to Alyssa's wild, crazy character, right? So and yes, their chemistry is just off the charts with this one, right? They just work so well together, right? And I don't know if we'll get like like a trilogy out of this. But I would love to see them pay up again in another film, right? I hope that this is not the last that we see of Scissor when it comes to just on screen presence and
Right.
whatnot, right? Well, film presence, right? Uh, I thought that the direction was pretty solid as well, do very vibrant with the colors and just how fast paced everything is, right? It really capitalizes on the whole, okay, we have one day to figure out this shit out. I love how it just moves at this great pace, right? I mentioned Insecure as well, right? Because yeah, just the banter between the two, the chemistry, it really did remind me of Issa Rae and Yvonne or G's character, sorry, from Insecure. They have that kind of connection, right? That quality, right? And speaking of Issa Rae, because I had to cock my ears because I heard it. Yeah, she make her appearance too.
Right.
You want to know what scene she was in?
Yeah.
All right, so the scene where they went to the load bag, right? The ad that was playing, the little
Yeah.
promo that was playing. That's Issa.
Mhm.
That's Issa. I could hear
Okay.
it. I
Okay.
could hear it, right?
And yeah, I don't know. Those there. Okay. But I know she
Yeah.
was in the movie, but I don't know where. Okay.
Yeah, so it was that. It was that. It was a nice little cameo, like a blink and you miss it cameo as well, right? Also did my the little Rel Howery cameo as well. Like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it
He was
worked.
good in this. Yeah. His camera is great.
Yeah, and in the context of it was like you know how it's going to end there, but it's like wow, but he just ran with that shit, like wow, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, this was fun, right? And it's interesting that this movie came out in January, right? Because when it comes to January, you always like to say, okay, this is like the dumpster fire, but this is where all the trash is come out, right? But this one was like, nah, this actually was good. I didn't feel like I wasted my time or my money
Yeah,
with
it's
it,
fun.
right? Yeah, I mean, sure, it's not perfect, right? You do the Friday formula, which is fine, right? But I felt they could have, at least not relied so much on the lead characters to drive the show. Like the other characters could have been given more to do, right? But there's an energy to it, there's a vibe to it, there's a quality to it that is just undeniable, and I mean I can't be mad at it. And yeah, at the end of the day, I just had a lot of fun with this, right? And I mean I can't be mad. Like it's not perfect. I mean Friday, as much as I love that film, isn't perfect either, right? But this was like let me just say, just to wrap things up, right? We always been hearing about maybe you will get a Friday follow up, and this time Chris Tucker will come back and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Right.
We was
You don't need to do
always
that.
always hear about this, right?
I know.
This is like the go on.
No, as I say, I never believe it. I say I don't like the reboots thing. Just do
Yeah,
something as like akin to a spiritual success. You don't need to do a reboot. You could probably have a crossover, maybe, but don't do a reboot. Don't try to do a reboot with them with Ice Cube old ass.
you
You
know,
don't need to do that.
and
Bring
especially Chris Tucker, like he
the
don't do
reason
that
the
style
reason why
of
it
humor no
works
more. You know.
exactly, but the reason why it works is because of the young energy. That's right. That's why it works. You need young energy. Don't
Yes,
don't.
and Ice Cube was riding off of his success as a
Yeah,
rapper and
exactly.
an actor. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. So that's why the original Friday works so well. And look, I get you might do a final thing and write it. Okay, our last Friday. Okay, fine. But just have a show about young people living in the modern era, young black people living in the modern era, and then having to go through hijinks. That's it. And you tell it well. You tell that story, and you're good. You don't need to just tell it and you can update that every 10 or so years or whatever it is. Just make sure it's funny. That's
yeah,
it.
and that's
Whoever
it.
the
Yeah, so I
I
I
like I was
already.
always say like if Doichi could do something, I can totally see Doichi being the sequel to this because
Oh,
you
yeah,
could totally
because of her
energy,
presence
yeah,
as energy as a rapper. Yeah,
exactly.
that's
But
why I
don't
say it was great
don't
having her big hit be it in,
yeah,
in in this song in this
don't
movie
don't
here. That makes sense.
don't half-ass it and don't coon it up too much. Like this is not soul playing like that
Oh
nonsense.
God,
You know,
God,
right? It's not
no, no.
that nonsense. But just do something where it's kind of funny. You make it genuinely charming. You make it work, and then you put in the energy into it, and that's it. But yeah, and it's not like those oh god, what's that fella? The House Party remake. That's rubbish
Oh
because
gosh,
yeah,
yes.
or even the basketball. It is White Men
Oh,
Can't
the
Jump
white
remake.
with the white man catch up remake,
Yeah,
which
because you're trying
no
you're trying to remake it and
oh,
you're not capturing the energy at all, and it's just the weakest filmmaking, laziest filmmaking ever kind of stuff. No, bring energy to it, make it work, have it flow, make it funny, but make it flow, and you can get good filmmaking in that. That's the energy. You don't want to spend too much money, does it? No.
yeah,
But
yeah,
and that's what we get with this, and I
uh,
thought it was great. Just good
yeah.
production, good writing, and it's funny. It's funny for it is. It's
Yeah,
solid.
exactly, for what it is, simple and to the point, right?
Yeah.
And lastly, right, it really did remind me of watching Girls Trip, right, which was
Right, a
way
little bit,
back in
right, which is
2017,
okay.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
which I enjoyed seeing in theaters, right? But
Yeah, I thought that
like
was okay. Yeah.
like that show, this movie knows its audience, right? It's for that audience. It's for it's for the ladies, right? It's for the ladies, right? But guys can watch it and enjoy it and have fun. I mean, in my case, it was just seeing SZA on the big screen, I mean, that made my day. But but yeah, outside of that though, this was genuine fun, and I can't be mad at this, right? So rating wise, I'll give this a very light 3.5 out of 5, man. It's worth checking out, right? And I actually recommend seeing it on the big screen as soon as you can, man. You know, not just waiting for it to come out on digital so you can say, oh yeah, I see it. You know what I mean? Like it's actually worth the price of admission. I would genuinely say that it is worth the price of admission. You get what you paid for. It's not like the funniest movie that you'll see all year though, but for what it is, yeah, it was just a lot of fun, man. I can't be mad at that. So Ricardo, your final thoughts, Rita.
Yeah, I get it 7 out of 10. It's solid. I get it a little too predictable and kind of rote. That's the unit that held it back. But just the sheer energy from Kiki and Scissors, why it works and it stay consistent. But I wish it could have been punched up a little bit. I thought that's the only thing to hold it back. But I dug it for what it was. Yeah, 7 out of 10.